Oh, hell yeah. We got big Stone Cold Steve Austin news today on Sportskeeda Wrestling. Top story. Could we be seeing the Texas Rattlesnake back on your screens for WWE in the very near future in 2022? Tell your Stone Cold fans to get on there with the Sportskeeda. We're going to talk to you right after this. Happy holidays, you no good son of a bitch. Play the video.
Look a lot like the holidays. Sportskeeda Wrestling, I am Kev Kellum. Christmas was celebrated on Monday at Raw, December 22nd in 1997. There was a Santa Claus in the ring. He wanted Sable because he wanted to tell Sable that she was naughty or nice and he had a special gift for her. The Santa Claus on site in Lowell, Massachusetts that week was not happy that Sable was not coming to the ring, but no, a young boy came into the ring, appearing to be either Jimmy or Jey Uso at a very young age. Did anyone else notice this? And then on top of it, he tells him that you're not the real Santa Claus. And this guy who's playing Santa Claus, he's not having it. And he kicks the kid out of the ring. This is a heel Santa. And you know who's not going to have this? Working class, badass, Texas Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Gonna tell Santa Claus what did I want for Christmas when I was 6 years old. And then Santa says that he wanted a Barbie doll and tiddlywinks. Stone Cold, of course, gives him the Stone Cold Stunner. And then a bionic elbow off the top rope, just for good measure. Happy holidays from Sportskeeda Wrestling. Watch out! What's up, everybody?
What?
We have what?
We got some big Stone Cold news.
Yes, we have massive Stone Cold Steve Austin news. I had so much fun doing that. You see the big graphic there. Is Stone Cold Steve Austin coming back to the WWE? We're going to get right back into that in today's video. So much to cover. Matt Hardy, we have news about him. What is his future after he is done wrestling in the ring? He says what he wants to do. Plus, SmackDown, if you don't know, is the most watched wrestling show in the world by a wide margin. It's beating the NBA. It's beating the NBA. All right, we're going to get into these numbers. This is crazy. What SmackDown is doing. The needle has been moved. I don't know if you know this. The needle has been moved.
What? Oh, hey, look what I'm wearing, by the way.
You're oh, I love that shirt. I got to get that. That's the Stone Cold Steve Austin Austin 316 speech, right?
It was $5 on Black Friday or something like that.
Mm-hmm. We got a bunch of diehards with us. A bunch of people yelling, "Watch out! Watch out! Watch out!" All right, tell people to watch out. Share the link. What's up, Johan? What's up with the diehards? Ricky, what's up with all the people there? If you're watching on demand, get into the chat below. So many of you joining us. So we recently interviewed Bianca Belair. So many of you guys checking that out. A lot of great content this past weekend, and thank you for once again putting us on the charts, on the podcast audio charts in the United States, Australia, and multiple countries. Go ahead and subscribe to the audio feed if you can. Ricky's already asking what's going on with Stone Cold. Enough of the teasing. Let's get right into it. Tell me, what is the news? Are we getting Stone Cold back in the WWE?
Well, obviously, with WrestleMania in Dallas, Texas, there was, the obvious speculation that Stone Cold would be involved, possibly. The Undertaker may be involved, maybe the Undertaker going into the Hall of Fame. We have gotten recent update from the usual reputable source of Wrestle Votes, a little tweet on the Twitter, and they said, talked to a few different sources on this weekend and heard the same thing. WWE is very interested in having Steve Austin as part of WrestleMania this year in Dallas, not in a wrestling role, but in a meaningful part outside of just appearing up to creative at this point. My assumption is probably that they are probably in the early stages of trying to get Stone Cold Steve Austin in to be the host of WrestleMania this year.
Yeah, it's something that matter. Maybe he'll be the sheriff. They did a lot of things with Stone Cold for 2 years or so after his in-ring career was done. He was still able to do stunners and be a complimentary character and had a lot of fun doing it. People, kind of the epilogue of his in-ring career was doing some pretty fun stuff where he was a referee and all these different things. And when Stone Cold comes back, people enjoy it. I don't think it makes sense. It's Dallas, Texas. It's Austin. It makes sense. The last time they did one of these, Austin was there. It was a big deal. This makes complete sense.
Yeah, and of course, WWE's like to have hosts for WrestleMania over the past few years, so it makes sense that could be the option that they have Austin in for this, as they have, of course, confirmed a 2-night event, Saturday and Sunday, April 2nd and April 3rd.
Mm-hmm. Craig saying, make beer drinking on TV cool again. Is it not cool? I enjoy drinking beers.
Hangman Adam Page drinks a lot of beer on TV, so So
True, but I mean, when we think of beer drinking wrestlers, we think of Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Crusher,
one beer,
one bear,
two beers,
we think of the Crusher. If you want to go extra old school, the man who made Milwaukee famous, walking out with a
Sandman.
keg of Sandman.
Sandman.
You know,
and
that sounds like
Hangman.
another top 5. We have to have the top 5
Top
coolest
5
drinkers.
top 5 drinking beer swiggling dudes.
Yeah, so if you guys want more Stone Cold goodness, I just did a voiceover for a very, very fun video. It is over on our channel right now, our YouTube channel. Go subscribe to it. And it is Wrestle Binge. This is our channel where we just put up top 5 videos. Go search Sportskeeda Wrestle Binge, and it is the top 5 Stone Cold Steve Austin moments. I think number 1 makes complete sense. And we've already referenced the number 1 Stone Cold moment. But go check it out. I had a lot of fun. I had to do a lot of ridiculous stuff on it. Just like I did in that video, we did dropped some new shorts, some Christmas shorts as well.
Remembering shorts.
But Stone Cold comes back. Does that move the needle for you? Since the big debate now amongst the tribalistic wrestling crowds is who moves the needle in wrestling, which is such a specific, descriptive favors of somebody who like is a draw, can get people to come out to things.
And now it's good. Now it's a t-shirt.
And now it's a t-shirt. Roman Reigns debuted this past week in Chicago. Did not get to go to the show. I was doing comedy up north, up there, way up there, y'all. And Wisconsin. Did not get to go, but everyone I know who went said it was a great, great show. They really, really enjoyed it. And this is a strong show with a bunch of different crazy things on it. We'll talk about that here in a moment. A lot to cover with them. I want to know what fans are saying here about this big Stone Cold news before we change here. They love Roman's new shirt. Greg Chris says, "Oh hell yeah, it will move the needle." He'll be on there. Steve says, Austin Stunner, Austin Theory getting him over. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see Vince McMahon saying, "Now you really want to." The whole thing is that Austin Theory is under the learning tree of Vince McMahon now. You really want to get over. You gotta deal with Austin.
Go get Austin.
Finally, I'll get Austin. I'll finally get Austin when I send this guy after his ass. Kick his ass. Yeah.
Then he gets stunned. And then Austin, old man, tries to figure out how to take a selfie or something. It'd be kind of a funny moment. I would love to see him in a WrestleMania hosting role.
Yeah.
That hosting role is, and for the most part, has been kind of a throwaway, not that interesting part of the show. If you give that to a guy like Steve Austin,
I mean, they certainly moved when they did it with The Rock about 10 years ago. It was a big deal. But it was to set something up. Now, I don't think they're going to set up a match with a 57-year-old Stone Cold who's far removed from the idea of getting back in the ring. If they do get him, Austin's out there. He's got to give somebody a stunner. What I mean? He has to. And Austin will get in shape for this. He will go and do months and months of rehab just to host a show and look good. He's that type of guy. I think Austin being there proves WWE wants to really move the needle and do some big things with this. I'm down for it. And you could do a lot of different cool things. Also, if you have Austin involved, what is he doing at the Hall of Fame? He already is inducted himself. You bring in a lot of feel goodness, and WrestleMania is supposed to have a lot of general wrestling feel goodness about it. Overall, undisputed feel goodness in wrestling. I think you're going to get that. And it's a good idea. It's a good idea here. We have people asking crazy questions here. Here we go. Jan, do we think John Cena will be available for WrestleMania? Talk about big names at WrestleMania.
Depends on his movie schedule. It's hard telling. There has not been any indication that he is anywhere close to coming back to the WWE. So I would say
they
no.
had that little short month-long run where he did 40 matches. They were mostly live events. For
Summer of Cena.
Yeah, Summer of Cena. I wouldn't surprise me, if he found some way to make it work.
Right now, there's been no rumblings. So
no rumblings at this time.
He might just be busy. I don't know, but there hasn't been anything mentioned about a return for Cena recently.
Other people saying, what about a referee role? Well, he's done that a couple of times already. I think that's kind of touched upon territory. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if he just was involved in making matches for WrestleMania. I think that'd be pretty sweet, though. Let's get into our second story here. This involves Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy is gone on the record about what his wrestling future is going to be like when he gets out of the ring. He is known for being a very advantageous mind for the business, despite all the transgressions, different things he's had with people outside of the ring and his own problems. He's proven that he's a very intelligent guy. He's been in the business since he was a teenager, almost before he could drive a car. He was in the ring wrestling and doing it for WWE and has had various stints there. Now with All Elite Wrestling heading the
HFO faction, and now there's much anticipation of him having another reunion with his brother. But he's on the record about saying his future in the business involves him becoming a producer / agent, a la, Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, many other people that have gone to that role in the past 10, 20 years.
Yeah, recently on the Essentially Sports podcast, Matt Hardy said, "Whenever I finish my in-ring career, which obviously I have a lot less years left than I do behind me, but I would definitely see myself as a producer or someone involved in the creative process. At the end of the day, pro wrestling is my passion. I want to wrestle in the ring as long as I can, as long as my body will physically let me. Once that is said and done, I can still be involved and contribute by being a producer, and you're still able to live out your passion to some degree." And also within that same interview, he talked about the differences between working with Vince McMahon and working for Tony Khan. He says, "I think AEW is very special because the mentality that AEW uses, starting from Tony Khan all the way down, it is really just come in, do your job, work hard, be part of a team, and let's make this product as good as possible. They don't really try to force people into a hierarchy. They don't try to rein in by fear. Everyone is allowed to feel comfortable. If you have an issue, you can talk to anyone. Tony Khan is so accessible. If you need to address Tony Khan, then you can speak to him. Where at WWE, it's quite opposite with Vince. Vince is very hard to speak with. And Tony, I just feel like Tony has the current mindset of a wrestling fan in 2021. He can kind of make that come alive through his wrestlers and the way he puts together and books shows. It's just a comfortable family environment where everyone feels like if you need to speak out, if you need to address something, you can. Everyone is comfortable in AEW, and it really does feel like a very big family."
Makes complete sense. Smart guy, feels very, very gung-ho about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, this is a guy I think WWE would want in a role just like that, too, if he wanted to do it. You know what I mean? He's in a good position, especially having a healthier mindset in his life in the past few years to do something like that. I'd be down for what he could do creatively, too, as well, pitching stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't doubt it. I mean, obviously he's got the wrestling school. He's trained some wrestlers. Cameron Grimes kind of came up through that area there in North Carolina as well. So
Cameron Grimes.
Yeah, and then the other thing that Hardy talks about, I don't understand how it's such a, how the structure backstage in WWE is the way it is sometimes. It's just so weird that it's, but you also go, Vince is kind of in his own world as it is. So maybe that's, to him, it's normal, but, to everybody else, it's kind of weird. So I kind of thought it was kind of interesting comparing and contrasting both the managerial styles of those two companies.
I wanted to mention this before we get into our big show closing story here about WWE ratings news. We have WWE ticket news. WWE sent out emails to a number of fans today that have either gotten tickets in the past that they're doing a buy one, get one ticket offer for the 2022 Royal Rumble at the Dome of the America Center in St. Louis. You can use the promo code HOLIDAY and fans can take advantage of the deal through Ticketmaster. Now, a lot of people assumed that meant that the Royal Rumble was not moving tickets well. Actually, it's moving very, very well. I think it's a misconception about that. It's moving very, very well. I think this is just a promo to make sure the show sells out. Is what it is.
Man, I would be mad if I bought a ticket already, though.
I would be mad if you bought a ticket, though, but this is live event business now. You're within a month of it. It's Christmas. This is a smart idea right before Christmas. Oh, you don't have a Christmas gift. You can really get a ticket if you want one, even if it's not maybe the best seat in the house. I could see if you were upset about this, too. It's worth noting that does apply to some of those premium seats. If you bought like a really hefty, nice ticket to Royal Rumble. I don't have a ticket to Royal Rumble. This was tempting. I was like, oh, wow, this is a pretty good deal. Even if you want to get a nice ticket as well. I could see what you're saying, though. But everyone making the thing like, oh, they can't move tickets. No. they've sold plenty of tickets with this. And things like this are already designed to be papered into 5,000 to 7,000 promotional tickets are given out to sponsors and, local sponsors and local media partners and stuff like that, too. That happens like crazy. That, a lot of that stuff happens.
I mean, it's a baseball stadium again, right? Or this year,
This is a former home of the Rams. Here.
Yeah, so a little different than what they've been doing baseball stadiums lately. So it's a little different than a little different setup than before, but it's almost the same. But yeah, there's a lot of seats to fill too. So
Let's get into this big WWE TV ratings news. SmackDown, if you don't know, is the most watched professional wrestling show. And we've had a lot of fun recently learning about the way that it is becoming more of a juggernaut for Fox television. Whether or not fans like to admit it, they look at the ratings overall. They say, oh, well, it wasn't this in 1998. Nothing on television is. I don't know why we're so isolated in that perspective here. But big numbers for SmackDown. This is the biggest rated show they had this past Friday out of Chicago's Rosemont Horizon, now known as the Allstate Arena. Can't help it. I grew up here. I didn't get to go to the show, but I had a lot of friends tell me this was a great show, texting me about it and saying it was really cool. And they also taped their Christmas holiday episode there next week as well. Big one, though. Brock Lesnar on the show, very physical. Roman Reigns attacking Paul Heyman. And these angles, whether or not people like to admit it, if you're in the camp of you just hate WWE, well, you're going to hate hearing this. This is the most watched SmackDown since September. And this is a show that scored a rating of 2.3 million. That means you had it peaking over 3 million in certain quarter hours based on that average rating. It was number one in the 18 to 49 demographic for network television. It ranked number one in the demo this week, which is pretty crazy. And it beat out a Laker versus Timberwolves game on ESPN on cable. So mind you, it's worth noting it's on network television, but you have a bigger audience than an NBA game with a marquee team.
Actually,
that's pretty impressive. That's pretty. You can't deny that power right there.
Actually, they were behind the Lakers game in the demo. That was the only thing they were behind on Friday in regards to the demo. Was that Lakers?
It's the perfect pivot show, though. If you're not watching sports, what else is on a Friday night in that time slot? You know.
Yeah. And also, maybe the time of the year getting colder, people stay in a little more. Rampage got a boost as well. I think it was Rampage's highest since the end of October. So definitely a good wrestling day. I did not catch SmackDown yet. I'm off work after tomorrow for a few days, so I'm going to catch up on my wrestling. I'm going to watch the Bears tonight, probably lose again.
Bears.
And so I'll probably catch up on SmackDown and Raw on my days off here later on this week. But it's good to see viewership all across the board kind of increasing. Obviously, we're getting closer to the Royal Rumble, and of course, that means we're getting closer to the road to WrestleMania.
This is good stuff, though, for WWE. They had nice ratings bumps like this around this time of year last year. So it's worth noting WWE, I think, will do some big things on SmackDown in terms of a big attraction or a match of some kind before we get to the Royal Rumble. And some of those things will announce, especially, you don't want to burn that stuff right away. But I think one of those first early January episodes will have something on it. It's what WWE did last year. It worked when they did that big cage match versus Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. That scored a real big number, one of the bigger numbers that WWE's had. I think we'll get something like that. It'd be crazy, though, if they pulled the trigger and we saw a Roman Reigns match on television. I don't think we see that, though. It's worth noting we also have, day one coming up on New Year's Day. And you have a time crunch here to really do some big angles on television before then. But it's good to see that you have this type of number going into that show coming up on January 1st. Yeah,
exactly. And I tell you what, I mean, there's WWE is not the best at telling long-term stories. They lose focus really quick, but the long-term story they've told with Roman and his family, and then add Paul Heyman, and now add Brock Lesnar, and this continuous 2-year arc has been some of the best storytelling WWE's done in the past decade. It's been great, and it continues to be great. I'm kind of excited to see where it goes. Like I said, I didn't see SmackDown yet, but I knew I heard what happened. I have a feeling Heyman gets involved at day one and screws Brock Lesnar because he's so scared of the tribal chief. I think he's going to screw Brock Lesnar somehow.
My tribal chief.
He doesn't act. He's scared shitless around Roman. He did not act like that around Brock as much.
His groveling is
it's great. It's
fantastic.
My tribal chief.
My tribal chief.
So, but it's been some of the best storytelling WWE's done over the past decade, and it continues to intrigue the audience clearly.
Read this comment here from Ryan Couts texting into the show.
This week's show was a good show for SmackDown. You actually wanted to pay attention.
Bot Walker, he's both Bot and Walker, says, nah, last week Roman Reigns wasn't there. The show wasn't getting a higher rating, so it's all just Roman Reigns? Is he the needle mover because he's wearing this needle mover t-shirt? If he's not there, no one watches?
You know what I find ridiculous, though? He was gone for a week, and then Roman returns! He was gone for a damn week, for crying out loud.
But is that a sign that WWE understands how valuable he is?
My God, he was gone a week. Calm down.
Well, I can tell you, he's a needle mover in other ways.
Yeah. Well, that t-shirt says so.
Well, yeah, he has a t-shirt that says so. I've been doing interviews related to the WWE live events on this past weekend to promote them. And one of them was in Rockford. And I know some people involved with working that event. And when the mark of sales over the past week was pushed quite a bit, Roman Reigns was on that show. And there was a big bump, as there is with a lot of shows right before. You know, some people say, "Oh yeah, it's in town. We got to go." You know, and the show was house shows. No one's selling out live events like that. It's just not something WWE puts that type of energy into. But the bill of the show did pretty well. They moved some tickets and really sold some extra tickets in the last few days. So good on them. Good time to go see a WWE live show. If you've never been to a house show, go. They're so much fun. They're like it's a refreshingly different thing than television if you just want to see wrestling. So a lot of people complaining here about ratings and all these different things here. Steven Chambers, SmackDown been great, but they need to get rid of Happy Corbin segments. He's not a fan of those.
I like Happy Corbin, but the stuff they've done lately has not been good. I kind of like it. I like the character a little bit, but yeah, I see what you're saying there.
You need a heel. Supersonic X saying the ending of SmackDown is great. It knows how to tell a good story. Well, you know, I also think part of it is it's a 2-hour show and Raw is a 3-hour show. And I wonder if the things that people enjoy on Raw, they would like if it was just a 2-hour show. You know, WWE's not going to say no to that, like extra, you know, 70, 80, $100 million, whatever it is you make in advertising per quarter just off that extra hour TV here.
Yeah.
You know, other people saying Raw ratings are terrible in comparison to what they're up against on Monday Night Football and a handful of really good Monday Night Football games that have happened this year, particularly good ones. Not tonight won't be good. I'll tell you that, especially if you're a Bears fan.
Yeah, I'll be watching. I'll throw in some money onto DraftKings to make it interesting.
There you go. All right. There you go. So definitely our very own Jose watching while he's in commute here. What happened to your overlay graphics? We got overlay graphics, Jose.
I just fixed it. I don't know what happened to him. I fixed it though.
Yeah, don't worry about it. We got him in there. And other people chiming in here. We'll get in this question here from Money Sanders. Do you think Charlotte versus Toni Storm, Charlotte Flair versus Toni Storm, will make day one, even though it was taped for next week? Yes, they did tape a match for the Christmas episode of SmackDown. I don't mind that as so much as there's storylines, I think, that can be done on television now in a day and age when you have so many pay-per-view special events like this, that you can give the payoff on TV. You don't have to have it on a pay-per-view. I'm okay with that. I don't think that's really a demotion either, because you're still on television. You're still in front of a big audience.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I didn't look at spoilers, but I mean, maybe they set it up to where they're, you know, they follow up with a match at day one. I don't know.
I avoided spoilers as well. I still at least wanted to see this week's show.
Yeah.
Lot to go in there. Thank you guys so much for watching the show. If you liked it, why don't you share the link? Why don't you just share the link and you don't stink? There's a lot you can do with. You can follow Jeremy on the Twitter machine at JB Bennett, JB Huskers.
Yeah.
You can follow me at Kev Kellum. Of course, check out sportskeeda.com. We are available as an app on your phone. You can get us on Google Play and Apple. If you haven't done already, here is our march. We have a few weeks to go. Can you get us to our goal for YouTube subscribers? I know a lot of you watch on Facebook, but give our show a shot on YouTube. It really, really helps us out. It really helps us out with different analytics and different things that we want to do with the show and grow it and grow it and grow it. And we have a bunch of content on there as well, including Dutch Mantel reviewing SmackDown and Rampage every Friday. Vince Russo, covering Monday Night Raw. We have the Unscripted series every Tuesday, which is an individual interview. We have Debrief every Wednesday. We have the Inside Credit every Thursday. And then on top of it, we get Top Story there. So like over 10 shows a week, plus bonus interviews, little shorts, our top fives, hours of stuff for you to consume. Never-ending content for your chirping bird mouths. And we are the baby bird. Wow, eat it. So there we go. I made the weirdest analogy ever for giving out content.
A little weird, yes.
Hey, it worked, though.
I made my point. All right, little chirpy baby birds. You can go hit the Twitters. And remember, when watching wrestling, you must do a critically important thing. Very, very important. Please do it as we pull up our show closing overlay. We have overlays, everybody.
Hey, fancy.
When you're watching that wrestling, tell them, Jeremy Bennett of Nebraska, if they ask you, what are they supposed to do?
Yeah, you got to enjoy wrestling, and then you got to follow it with yeah!
Watch out, watch out!